goof up and make a mistake and not adopted them. And now, I'll give the honor and the floor to Mr. Willis.
Come on up, fellas. Is that the way to do it? I got two coaches over here. One of them says I'd like to make a motion before I read this. Gentlemen, if I give you all this, do I get free golf lessons?
Yeah.
Thank you. Whereas, Wythe County Resolution 2015-28, resolution honoring the George Wythe High School golf team. Whereas, the George Wythe High School golf team completed a spectacular 2015 season, and whereas the George Wythe High School golf team advanced to the Virginia High School League's Group 1A state championship at Golden Eagle in Irvington, Virginia on October 12th and 13th, 2015. And whereas the George Wythe High School golf team surpassed the competition, earning the designation as George Wythe's first Virginia High School League 1A golf champion. And whereas the George Wythe High School golf team scored a total of 674 points, defeating runner-up Alta Vista by 20 strokes. And whereas senior Alex Arnold had a two-day score of 159, junior Max Dillon 162, junior Chris Booth 167, and senior Coney Abbott 186. And whereas the George Wythe High School golf team completed an extraordinary season and displayed outstanding dedication, athletic ability, sportsmanship, and whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors officially commends the George Wythe High School golf team comprised of Cody Abbott, Alex Arnold, Chris Booth, David Castanon, Tyler Corbin, Max Dillon, Zach Duncan, Nash Russell, and coaches Beamer and Southers for their exemplary season. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors present this resolution to the George Wythe High School golf team in recognition and appreciation of their achievements, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be incorporated into the official minutes of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors adopted the 22nd day of December, 2015. Congratulations.
Okay, now I'll entertain.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion too, to adopt that resolution.
Johnny wanted to say a few words, didn't he?
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and second to adopt the resolution. Any discussion? Hearing none, do a roll call vote. Dr. Housen?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
You wasn't afraid we was going to take it back, were you?
Well, they run it out the door. I believe they're going to have to say something. Okay, moving on with our agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the December 8th minutes.
I'll make that motion, and we approve the minutes as presented.
Have a second.
Second.
I open the floor for discussion. Any corrections or changes need to be made to the minutes? Hear none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, payment of the invoices. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. I open the floor for discussion, or is there any invoice, any?
Just a question. One, for the treasurer, professional services, is that for the turnover audit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Houseman?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Old business. Appalachian Regional Exposition Center Board of Directors. Mr. Dobbins.
As is custom, after each and every public hearing that we had several last time, that those matters are not adopted that night but placed on the next agenda, and that's what we've done today for y'all's consideration.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2015-02,
So moved.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 152002. Open the floor for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions if I may.
Yes, Dr. Hutton.
Under Section 2, Articles of Corporation, letter D, where it says, "All members of the Board of Directors shall serve at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors, and any member of the Board of Directors may be removed by the Board of Supervisors with or without cause." Is that normal language in the creation of an authority? I know that this is a little different in the fact that Wythe County is the only agency that, that is involved, but I just didn't know if that was normal language or not.
I'll answer that, and the county attorney. We typically don't have that, but with some of the episodes and adventures we've had with other authorities, we felt that that was a necessary thing to add that allows us some, or the Board of Supervisors, some control of that.
Okay.
issue.
All right. The other one, Section F, where it says that the Exposition Center will be leased to the Appalachian Regional Exposition Center Authority under terms and conditions agreed upon by Wythe County and the Appalachian Region Exposition Center Authority. We don't have any of those right now.
No.
Okay.
Excuse me, I don't want to interrupt you. Are you saying that we need to make a statement in there that when adopted, or are you asking for clarifications, Gary?
Well, when I read that, it almost made it sound like there were those terms and conditions out there, and I hadn't seen them.
If you just read it strictly, I think it sort of says that. But I guess that's the reason I was asking if we needed to clarify that, because we haven't adopted. We don't know what we're leasing because we haven't closed the loan, nor have we got a building plan or a survey of a property to cut that off. So I guess that should be may or be able to, or.
The purpose of the authority is to maintain that facility once it's constructed. So if, for example, you couldn't come to terms with the authority and what you want to lease from the county leasing to the authority, if you can't come to those terms, then the purpose of the authority essentially goes away because you can't get the agreement to run the place, the idea of that is to say the purpose of the authority is to run this facility that's to be built, and then that'll be determined based on what the lease says between Wythe County and the authority. In other words, there's a large tract of land out there. We're only giving the authority a limited piece of it to run as the Ag Exposition Center. So those terms have not been discussed. I think there have been some ideas of how to do that, but there hasn't been anything to make it as far as writing down anything at this point.
But in your opinion, this language is okay?
Let me read through it real quick to make
Okay.
sure, but I believe it is. You're looking at section F on page 3.
I think I understood what the spirit of it was, but I'm not sure that it says that.
Section F on page 3.
Yeah, okay. I guess I would change the 4 lines down where it says, and the exposition center will be leased to the Appalachian Regional Exposition Center, to say the exposition center may be leased. To change it from will to may, right there, that one word. It gives you more flexibility there with may than will, so.
Mr. Dalton, did you understand what the problem just saying?
Changing that will right there to may, so instead of will be leased.
Just make it permissive.
Yeah.
You make it permissive by changing it to may? Okay. I think the last question I have on it, section 5, the second part of the sentence after the semicolon, however, that the authority shall not undertake any project or activity other than those enumerated in the act and this ordinance, are we still under the legal opinion that the authority will not be able to rent space?
Yes,
Okay.
other than renting space associated with the.
Contracted
exhibition center, like a
for
concession
events.
stand or vendors or whatever, right.
Right. Okay. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any more questions?
I have two. Under section, can't remember what section it is now. Section 2E, it says the chairman of the Board of Supervisors and the Wythe County Administrator shall be ex officio members. Should we add chairman of the Board of Supervisors or his designee?
That's fine.
I mean, just in case he needed to appoint somebody else to do it. And the other question was, it had been talked about that the county extension agent would always be on this authority, but it's not written that way. Did we want it that way, or do we don't want it that way? I mean, because the way it's written, he cannot always be on it because he can only serve 2 terms.
That's correct.
Scott, if we change that much wording in it, would that be enough to have another public hearing?
No. It's about changing the terms, you're changing the terms of the board of directors. So you would have, if you clarify the board of directors of the 7 members, 1 member shall be I don't know how many extension agents Wythe County has, if there's more than 1 or not, but if it's 1
We got
Wythe
3?
County agent.
Oh.
I don't know how you designate which Wythe County extension agent, but you could say 1 board member needs to be a Wythe County extension agent.
What's Matthew's official title?
I think he's over ag right now. We got one for 4-H and we got one for home services or something.
Oh, okay.
But if you have 3, you
I
can.
didn't realize they were all 3 considered extension agents. Sorry.
But Matthew's the,
So in section D, under,
He's the unit leader.
yeah.
Would it work just kind of by consensus that we would agree that he would be on it, especially initially, rather than have it written in? Because if I don't know, if it's written in extension agent, Matthew's probably going to be here.
Right.
I mean, for more than 8 years. And how many terms can they serve? 2, more than 8 years. And so then we either have to come back and change it, or one of the other extension agents would step in. I don't know. Yeah, that's a
I think you
picture.
could word it so that you could say in section D about the directors, that one of the directors may be a Wythe County extension agent. And if it is a Wythe County extension agent, they can serve for longer than 2-year terms, or longer than 2 terms. There's no limit on the number of terms that the extension agent can serve on the board.
In adding that language, we wouldn't have to have another public hearing.
No.
I got a
One-
question for that. In the past, we've had Wythe County extension agents that weren't county residents.
Right. There's not a requirement that they be a resident here. It depends if you want that requirement or not.
Well, currently, get appointed to any board in Wythe County, you gotta be a resident and a taxpayer.
Is that a policy or?
And be current on your taxes.
Well, if we put the word may in there instead of shall, if they opt not to live, if the extension agent doesn't live in the county, we can always appoint somebody else.
You could also just remove the language that the board members are limited to 2-year terms. And then the board takes upon themselves just to rotate people through don't let them serve more than 2 years, because you're reappointing them. If you don't put the limiting language in there,
Because they could change their policy.
you could change your policy later to say, well, we think 2 terms isn't long enough, we want them at least 3, then it's not in the ordinance. You know, you're not putting the limiting language in the ordinance saying they can only serve 2 terms. So then if they want to serve 5 terms and you're okay with that, they could, specifically the extension agent. But if you want to continue that 2-term rotation, then you kind of do that on your own, and it's not mandatory in the ordinance.
So you're talking about basically making it a policy rather than a regulation?
Well, it's not required in the ordinance.
Okay.
So it's at so essentially that becomes the discretion of the Board of Supervisors when they reappoint a member. They say, oh, Artie's been on there for 2 terms, it's time to let him go off and let somebody new come on. Versus, well, he loves it, he's doing a great job, let's keep him there.
Would, if we put the language in about the county extension agent, would they be under the same stipulation that they serve at the pleasure of the board? So that they could be removed by basically what it would amount to 4 votes?
It could be, but if you're requiring one of those positions to be an extension agent, and you remove the only extension agent in the county, if there's only one at that time, then you've got an empty spot on the board.
I thought Mr. Reeves was talking about saying may.
May instead of shall or would.
Yeah, you could. But yeah, that language would apply to all the board members.
I know we have a motion and a second. Who made the motion? Do you want to amend your motion to adopt the changes?
Gene had 2 questions.
Yes,
Do
what's
you
your?
have another question, Gene?
The other was should it have designee instead of just chairman?
Okay.
Just in case the chairman was so busy he didn't.
I don't know how to amend questions. You want to educate me a little bit?
Well, Gene's question is to change the wording is, you know, instead of the chairman could have a designee as a ex officio member of this board.
If I may,
Yes.
you've had several suggestions and discussions. I guess the amendment of your motion would be to include the changes as suggested, or you can go through them one by one. I haven't seen anything of substance.
I haven't either. So the one change was in section F about the lease
The word will would be changed to
from will
may.
changed to may. In other words, we may lease it to the authority, it's not a will. And then the other one is in section E where the chairman, we add the language or his designee to section E. We had a discussion about the board members as to whether there's going to be a 2-year term or not, and whether we're going to appoint the extension agent as being one of the board members. I haven't heard any kind of consensus on that yet as to what the pleasure of the board is. And do you want to just remove the 2-year term limit? And then you guys appoint whoever you want. If you want to appoint the extension agent, then that's who you appoint. And then you're just simply removing the limit from section D. And then it's up to you to rotate through every 2 terms if that's the desire of the board.
Okay.
I just didn't hear a resolution or any kind of conclusion on that issue about the extension agent.
Okay.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Mr. Spaulding, do you think that since we have the language earlier in there, that all the board members serve at the pleasure of the board in that with or without cause part? That would also cover the extension agent,
Yes,
because it says all.
yes.
But so to elaborate just a minute on the importance of the extension agent, that gives us a direct contact with tech on the ag side. Plus, they're probably a professional that don't have side issues. Their job is agriculture in Wythe County. So that plus the direct connection with Virginia Tech makes that a good position. So therefore, I would accept those amendments.
what's the amendment? I'm still unclear. Do you want one of the board members to be an extension agent, or do you just want to remove the term limit?
Yeah, my thought was what we've talked about is remove the term limits because they serve at the pleasure of the board anyway.
Right,
Why do you need term limits in there?
right,
Out of a mass, you may get a good one. And
right.
And I also add,
The word may,
with
may
an
be
extension agent may serve on the
If you
authority.
remove that, then that also covers under your current policy that you be current with your taxes and all that other stuff.
So is that the consensus of the board to change and add the additional comments to the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
It's not a resolution, it's an ordinance.
Ordinance, I mean.
I guess before you vote, I have a question. When and how are those, in the ordinance, are those 7 positions filled?
They're filled by the board. When you pass the ordinance, I think you need to plug in the names of who's going to fill those spots. So you may want to withdraw the motion or table the motion to pass the ordinance until you know what the names are that you're going to put in there. Just decide the names. You pass the ordinance, but as soon as you pass the ordinance, you need to plug in the 7 people that you're going to put in there, I think. And it needs to be, you create the authority, you need to have the board, because they need to then meet and finish creating themselves, I guess, with the bylaws.
But these things say they don't take office until February the 1st.
That's right.
So, I mean, would we have until then to appoint them?
So can this ordinance be effective on the day of appointments? Change that date down there and set a date that you adopt the ordinance and the appointments will be effective.
Yes, you could do it that way and say that it should be effective on X date. Adopt the ordinance, say it's effective on February 1st, or that's what you're saying, right?
Right.
It's saying that the ordinance is adopted today, but it becomes effective on February 1st
And then they've got between now and February the 1st
to appoint the
to
members.
appoint the members.
Okay, as far as appointing members, I see that there are 7 members. Are we talking about like the planning commission and each board of supervisor members appoint one? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't have that answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's 7 members appointed by the board of supervisors.
If one of them is going to be your extension agent, then that's pulling
That's pulled.
one away from somebody, or designating that person, whatever district he lives in, to be that person's appointee.
Okay.
this is probably a real important board for the success of this regional center. And I believe this ought to be appointed by the board and not by the individual members. A consensus of the board, you know more people, you know their work ethic, their passion for the project. So rather than getting in appointments from the district, I'd recommend that it be a consensus board appointment.
That's how we do like with joint IDA. Of course, you only have 4, but you'd only have
But
really,
still.
you know.
Currently, the way it reads, the appointments are by the board of supervisors.
Okay, and that means as a whole. Okay.
And, you know, we have discussed that 2 of the members on the authority would be out of the AAEC fundraising 5013C.
No,
We've discussed it.
Are
It's
we
not in
include-
this, it's not in this ordinance.
But in my opinion, it's only fair, you know, they're raising money for the center that, and two of the board members, be appointed from their board.
Call the question.
Okay, let me get this straight. Are we adding all the language that we discussed, plus the effective date of February the 1st to the motion?
That's my understanding of the discussion to this point.
Okay,
The only thing that hasn't been concluded on is the members and how they're being appointed, or who's being appointed. You don't have
Okay.
that resolved at this point.
But the resolution gives the Board of Supervisors leeway to,
The ordinance allows the Board of
Right.
Supervisors to appoint to 7 members.
okay.
And
And I have the motion, second.
Who seconded it?
I seconded
You
it.
seconded it. Do you agree with that?
Mhm.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, question's been called. Dr. Hausman?
No.
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-1. Okay, resolution on the enterprise zones.
At our last meeting, we did everything, we were getting ready to do all the paperwork. There was a resolution that Mr. Manley had sent me that didn't get in the packets, needs to be passed and adopted.
Okay, we have resolution 2015-27. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance,
I'll make that motion.
or I mean, not the ordinance, the resolution.
Resolution.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution 2015-27. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. Motion, resolution passes. Okay, next item on the agenda, other. Mr. Dalton, is there anything other under old business? Okay, moving on to reports. Mr. Crockett has gave his report. Water Committee.
If I can catch up, I'll get with you. Okay, the Water Committee met on December the 15th, 2015, and makes the following recommendations. First is to approve the final change order for the Speedwell Water Extension Project.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Open the floor for discussion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
To prepare an application to build a water tank on Raper Ridge.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Is there anything else from the Water Committee?
I think that was it.
Thank you, Mr. Horny. Next, County Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to defer, there was a handout on your desk with the fire and rescue.
Okay, oh. Okay, we have a Fire and Rescue Committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Fire and Rescue Committee met, well, actually yesterday, made the following recommendations. One is to amend the Reed Creek and Greasy Creek Road fire zones. We had all the fire departments here. And actually, these are not major changes. It's just changing a little bit so that the fire departments feel that they can better serve those few areas.
And that's marked in red on the next handout on the next page.
That's the I guess the Reed Creek one, and then the Greasy Creek road fire zones was between Speedwell and Wytheville. So there was a little change in that. That was the next one. But this is, it's an agreed upon change by all the fire departments. They feel that will make it a little bit better. So, of course, it comes from the committee, but I would recommend our adoption, because again, they're the ones that see the need.
Okay, Comfort Committee doesn't need a second. Any more comments, questions? Hearing none, do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye. Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, the second one is to modify the dual response area protocols in the following manner. Modifying the dual request to a first and second due response protocol for vehicular minor calls in these areas. What was happening is that, and I don't know if it's on your, the very last map that you have, that whole area in green down around Progress Park was designated as a dual response, just automatic dual response. And what is happening is that there are, some vehicle accidents or maybe minor vehicle accidents that need a fire department. So as per protocol, the 911 center is dispatching both Wytheville and Max Meadows. And so they just want to modify that a little bit so that if it is a minor accident, something like that, they don't automatically call out two entire fire departments. However, the response to structure fires and things like that will remain, first and second due.
Okay, any more questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Comfort Committee doesn't need a second. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
The third one is to develop a tanker task force policy for response to rural areas without fire hydrants. And really, I guess this kind of goes to partly because of Wytheville Fire Department. Wytheville Fire Department does not have tanker trucks, and sometimes when they're the second due and all the first due needs are tanker trucks, it's a little bit hard to get Wytheville to come out. Well, I mean, not hard to get them to come out. I don't mean that. They will certainly roll, but they don't have the the mechanical resources to do it, or the water resources. So on rural fires, we're just looking at Jason working on a task force policy, a policy change so that if there is a fire and they need a tanker truck, they have the personnel, but they just need water, that they can call for that.
Is Wytheville the only department that doesn't have a pumper truck tanker?
They actually have a pumper, they just don't have
Have
a
tanker.
tanker.
Tanker, right.
1,000 gallons.
It's Rural
is the
Retreat.
most they carry. Rural Retreat has tankers. Well, Rural Retreat doesn't have ladder truck and some of those specialized equipment that Wytheville has.
Okay, any comments or questions?
And that will come back at a later time to us after it's developed.
Here are no questions. Do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. Motion passed. Anything else from the Fire and Rescue Committee?
No, sir, that was it.
Okay. County Administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that indulgence. First item is a letter from VDOT. As you know, under House Bill 2, we made several applications. One was to do a study out at exit 41. What we received is a letter that said they've changed the rules and that's not eligible. What VDOT has agreed to is that they have two studies requested in Wythe County, one for exit 73 and one for exit 41, one for the town of Wytheville, and obviously they have found some money external of House Bill 2, and they've came to both of us and asked that they study those as a joint study, both those exits at the same time with money outside House Bill 2, and we'll be part of that study, and then they'll bring those recommendations back of which interchange should be developed first, or improved first.
Do we need to take any action?
We do not. But it is a significant change that we didn't get the funding, but they're going to move forward with those studies. as us and the town as integral partner in those things. It didn't say it in the letter, but that is what we worked out. The second item is the bond council scope of services. For y'all's pleasure, we should be closing that $5 million loan next 30th? Is that? Okay. So all that will be done, and we've got a lot of papers to sign. And the last item is we've extended the commitment letter and loan closing date for the Exit 24 sewer project until January 31st of 2016. That original date to close, we just didn't have all the property and weren't ready to close. And that's everything I have, Mr. Chairman.
What question? All the 24, extra 24 money is secured, it's just not closed?
Exactly.
Okay.
DEQ and the health department have a different method of awarding you money. They make you sign a commitment letter and schedule up front of when you're going to do certain things. What this letter does is change that commitment letter to a realistic date. And it doesn't change our commitment of the money or their commitment of the funding through VRA. What it does is probably moves VRA into a different bond closing date than what they'd had.
Okay.
Because they have to go to the market and do certain things. And this is important for them so that they're showing their board that they haven't missed important dates for closing.
Stabilizes their drawdown.
Exactly.
How are we on locating the plant? Are we moving forward?
We've located the plant. We're working on securing the property. That hasn't gone as smoothly as we'd like it to. But we're working on it.
Thank you.
Any more questions to the county administrator's report? Hearing none, the county attorney's report. Harley?
I have no report at this time.
Okay. We can run along Board of Supervisors report. Dr. Hausman, Black Lake District.
Only thing I have is just wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And that's it for me.
District 2, West Whiffle.
I'll just say the same, Merry Christmas, and I've enjoyed working with you guys.
Merry Christmas and goodbye.
4 years went pretty fast, didn't it, Art?
Yep, yep. And good luck to Charlie. He'll take the steed pretty soon, so.
Okay, East Whiffle.
If there's anybody that has someone in their jurisdiction that's dying to get on the rec commission, let me know. I've got my appointees trying to get off, and it's been about a 2-month search that I've failed miserably with.
Okay, we'll take
And also
note of
Merry
that.
Christmas to all.
Okay, District 4, Fort Chisholm District.
Well, after a long struggle, we, this past week, the Stephen F. Austin signs started to go up. So I'd encourage any of you to rush over to Austinville and open a business. But they're up, I don't know, west of town on the interstate, but they're taking the traffic or giving them the signage to get them to Austinville. And I'd really wish the county with Jeremy's ability would help develop a postcard or something so we can pick some of those Yankee dollars if they get off and get over to Austinville, or maybe we can sell them a map how to get back to the interstate. But the signs are there, and I hope it'll help tourism and get people off and utilize the county's rich history. Also, no lump of coal. Have we done better this year?
No, I just ran out of coal.
Okay. The economy's bad, isn't it?
that all from the Fort Chiswell district? Ledgemont district.
I'd just like to say thank you to Artie and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Okay. Speedwell district.
I don't have anything, just Merry Christmas to everybody, and we're gonna miss you, Artie.
Speedwell District, Mr. Horny, I talked to VDOT. They're having a district drainage guy come about your box culvert.
All right.
The potholes, that,
Did y'all ever figure out where they're at?
yeah, we did figure that out. So, but they went to look at that, as soon as the mud freezing and thawing, they said they'd work on
Okay.
How would you like to have the job title district drainage guy?
it. His name, title's the district drainage engineer.
Oh, okay.
Is that all from the Speedwell district?
That's it.
Okay.
I had mentioned those to Salil, so I didn't bring them back up.
At large, I had a call, and I'm gonna refer this to Mr. McRoberts, because I can't remember, and I didn't bring my notes, what the roads are, for MD and, Howard Sayers, that road that goes between them,
Slab Town area.
Slab Town area.
At the same time I talked to the VDOT administrator, that area where you go by the convenience center out and back out and have those crossroads into Slab Town, there's to be looking at fixing.
There's potholes, and the road's washed plumb away, I think, between MDs and,
And we offered one time to fix all of that, and they wouldn't sign the paper.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did.
But, and again, I want to wish everybody in the county a Merry Christmas. And I want to thank Artie for assisting me over the past 2 years, and working with him over the past 4 years. It's been a pleasure. And look forward to working with Charlie, Mr. Lester, and he comes in the first of the year. And that's all I have from the at-large. Does anybody else got anything? Hearing none, we'll continue with the agenda. Have the consent calendar. I'll approve a motion, entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve consent calendar as presented.
Okay, have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda is to approve the third quarter appropriations. I entertain a motion.
Chairman, I so move.
Second.
I'll second.
Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda is Appalachian Power 138 kV transmission line project. Mr. Dalton?
I have in the package the notice we get on new projects. While I don't think we have any objections to it, I would ask the board to get the county attorney to write them a letter and just so that we keep posted on the proceedings and things, and we get more information as they do a dual power line from Harvest Park substation to the park, that we at least have the ability to intercede if we want to. I understand we have to give the notice now to do that. I don't think we have any objections to it, but to position ourselves properly, it's better to write the letter now.
Does anybody on the board have a problem with authorizing Scott to write the letter? Mr. Farland, will you so do so? Is there anything else on that, Mr. Dalton?
Yeah, My real reason for that is we're designing a road, and we don't want this power line to impede our road construction.
Okay, we have a New River Regional Water Authority financial report in our package. I went over it. Entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Any questions on audit? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And the chair will vote aye. Next item on the agenda is the Whipple Farmers Market Environmental Assessment. Mr. Dalton?
The notice is required to be sent to local government body. It appears that they're looking to get some USDA money and improve the market. And that the market's in a maybe float. We, staff, and I don't have any comments, but as a notice, the board needs to at least have access to.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is the convenience center holiday hours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we had a long discussion at PSA last week. Typically, in our contract, Christmas Day, we are closed, convenience centers closed. This year, Christmas Eve is on Thursday, which we normally have a half a day closed anyway. And closure of the centers on Thursday for the full day gives us a period of time that we're consistent with the transfer station closing. And while we have worked out an agreement with our current vendor, B&M, on convenience centers, that they'll be all empty yesterday, today, and tomorrow, Wednesday. So that when we return open convenience centers on Saturday, we won't be completely crushed with paper and everything. They'll have plenty of space so that we don't receive all these complaints. But as part of this, the transfer station will be closed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to.
I would make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passes.
We deeply appreciate that since those advertisements are already being made.
Okay. I'll give the floor to Mr. Hale here a minute.
We're getting compacted on time here. What's the status of getting a letter out to other counties about support of a revenue bill?
The cigarette tax?
Yeah.
We have sent it to every county in the state of Virginia, and we've got responses from several already.
Okay. That was what I was interested in is,
And we have met with Jeff, Tim and I met with Delegate Campbell and discussed, I guess, the procedure and how to go about it, and he's agreed to do it just exactly like our resolution.
just changing those 3 words instead of rewriting the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that makes it so much better.
It's easy to think that 3 words won't change anything.
Well, and it's harder for them to deny something that's already in, in the code.
Lastly, do we know anything about the trash van and have a target date when we're gonna get it? Martha, I hate to bother you like that, but
I've ordered it, but I haven't got a confirmation of the date. I'll check on that today.
will it be ready to go to work when we get it?
We ordered it with the extra springs and towing capacity and stuff, so it should be able to just buy a ball, stick it in there, and as soon as Martha gets it, we're ready to go.
if we could keep the sheriff's department informed so we can get them back on the road. Although the state is doing some of the primary roads, they're not doing a lot on the secondary roads.
I met with the sheriff last week. He knows this, where we're at with that. He's anxious to get started. And he's got some people anxious to get back on the road.
Lastly, on trash, the sheriff last year had committed, or this year had committed to adding a trash reduction education segment to his DARE program. Could we ask for a report on that, how that's going?
We didn't discuss that, but I know he committed that, and they've been doing it, I think, Major Klein.
I'm unaware right now. Right when I see all that.
Wonder if it'd be possible for whoever the resource officer that's doing that come in and do a presentation so we'll see what they're doing.
And for those that don't know, this is Major Klein, third in charge down at the sheriff's office. I think he can answer all those questions a lot better than I can.
I'll get that set up.
Thank you.
School resource officer who teaches there.
That's how it works, Major Klein. When you get promotion, you get, that's
Anything else, Mr. Hill?
Mr. Chairman, I just, one thing, not a question or anything like that, and I should have said this during the consent calendar, but on page 99 of the board packet, the local sales and use tax, they're up. I mean, it looks better than it has for a few years.
In September,
Well, September spiked, but August was down, so I don't know what that was, but still, it looks like,
it's running above average.
yeah, it's running, more. So that's a good thing, huh?
And hopefully it'll spike in December.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else to bring before the board before we go into closed session? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion just a second, and I know it says personnel matters, discussion of prospective business. We'll do the prospective business first. David, if you'll please stay, and Charlie, I want to request you to come back too on both matters. So I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that we enter into closed session as pursuant to 2.2-3711. Hold on one second. 2.2-3711A1, discussion of personnel matters. And we'll do first section 2.2-3711A5, discussion of prospective business or industry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
clarification on the motion that this personnel issue will deal with 911 not coordinator, but dispatch center.
Okay. Any others? Do I have a second? I think I had a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in closed session.